Swift.
Well, it's all coming a little late for England, but the defending champions are putting in the performance we expected of them at the start, at least, of the tournament towards the end. Like they did against the Dutch, they batted first and they've put a score in excess of 300. One short of what they got in Pune, 337 for 9 is where this game stands at the Eden Gardens against Pakistan, who are effectively out now, even mathematically, of making it to the semi-finals. They needed a rescue effort from Stokes in Pune. Today, everyone joined the party. So we look at runs from Bairstow and Root and Ben Stokes and assess Pakistan's bowling too on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Matchday, powered by Qatar Airways. We'll hear from Urooj Mumtaz shortly. Before that, Anil Kumble and Stephen Harmison in studio. Happy days are here again?
Yeah, it's better, isn't it? That was better, much better. Contributions from everybody, and I didn't think it was a great wicket when it first started. Ball sat in, you know, the new ball grip, which I'm sure that in the second half with a little bit of lateral movement, I think that will help. But I think all in all, Bairstow got off to a good start. Milan played well. And then a little bit of what could have been from a Stokes point of view. If he wasn't injured for the first 3 games, and then it took him a couple of games to get up to speed. These last 3 or 4 games have shown you why England wanted him out of retirement and why he would have been so crucial for England right at the very start of the tournament if he wasn't injured. But not to be. England have finished with the bat probably as good as they've had in this tournament, even when you look at the Bangladesh games. Yes, they got more runs, but I think this was against a much better attack. I think 337 is a good total to get on the board.
Yeah, it's hard to feel any real emotion for this from an objective point of view because you think there's not a lot riding on this game, Anil. But if you were watching that team, which clearly now has to look ahead, what about today's batting effort would please you if you were managing it?
I think the attitude from ball 1, I mean, although the pitch was tough, you saw that there was intent from ball 1, and that's the way England have always played over the last 6 to 7 years, and changed the way other teams approach the white ball format. And today you saw that, and partnerships. Again, building when you lose a wicket. The first 10 overs was perfect. You had a good start, and then the 11 to 20 was always a rebuilding phase, and then you sort of keep upping the run rate, in every 10 over, split. So that's something that England did exceptionally well in this game, which perhaps in the first few games they were either too bogged down, circumspect because they had lost a couple of wickets, and the experience in the middle order wasn't there, and there's too much pressure on Josh Buttler, or they were the other way, going too hard, too early, and then losing wickets, and then finding themselves in a situation where they didn't know what to do.
All right, Urooj, let's get your thoughts on this first innings, where it looked like for the first 3 overs, it's very unlikely we'll get a 300-plus score the way the ball was moving. Some moments of brilliance in the field. We also saw chances go down. In the end, how do Pakistan feel about 337?
Yeah, I think they've probably given away 37 too many, if not more, in fact. And again, it was Pakistan's similar journey as it's been in the World Cup. They've obviously been good in patches, but those patches have been very limited and far too few in between. And they haven't been able to string together bowling partnerships to put enough pressure in terms of applying consistent pressure. I thought England were really smart on the surface, which gripped a little bit, which was slightly on the slower side, maybe even too paced, to build that middle period through, and then have the launch pad to get 97 odd in the last end. Even if they lost 7 wickets, I think Pakistan were good in patches, but I think there was far too many inconsistencies again, which has been the story. Their spinners only picking up 1 wicket is again the seamers. Mohammad Wasim picking up a couple of wickets towards the back end. Rauf, Shaheen Afridi, the expensive again. He did pick up a couple of wickets. Some brilliant catches, but I would say the second one, the Stokes cotton bowl to Shaheen Afridi, probably relatively easier of the two. But I think they've probably given away a few too many here, Pakistan.
Yeah, I guess the reality is that we can only look at individuals now in a game like this, which effectively is done in terms of relevance for the semi-final. So let's talk about some key individuals. We'll talk Stokes and Root in a bit, but let's stick with Shaheen Afridi, whose tournament, for all practical purposes, is now completed, Urooj. And what impressions you'd make of him on what is yet another day where we've not seen the Shaheen Afridi that has had real impact or blown opposition away. So what will this World Cup be remembered for Shaheen Afridi, and what's the path forward?
Yeah, I think the word you associate with Shaheen Afridi is impact. And in fact, that's probably the thing that he hasn't been able to deliver, at least towards the start of the innings with the ball. I mean, you associate wickets with Shaheen Afridi because of his natural angle into the right-hander, the one that he angles away as well. But I really feel if he looks at his own bowling performance over the World Cup, it's not too difficult to figure out what went wrong. He just wasn't consistent enough. He wasn't bowling at that 140 clicks, which he normally is up at. I think much earlier on into the tournament, I think it was up till the South Africa game that he was bowling around that 140 clicks. Otherwise, he was the low 130s. He wasn't getting the swing, and he was late to recognize the lens that have been working in India, which is around the 6 and 7 meter mark, and being consistent at that. So I think he's let himself down because he didn't quite adapt to the situation. And he hasn't, because he kept leaking runs, he wasn't be able to apply that consistent pressure. He wasn't able to pick up wickets because there was hardly any swing on offer, which has been his potent weapon throughout his career so far. So I think that's been a massive letdown, because when the numbers in the power play do favor Shaheen Afridi in terms of wickets, results more often are in Pakistan's favour. I think barring a Bangladesh game where he picked up 2 wickets, I think he's only picked up 2 wickets in the 8 other matches in the power play, and he's given just under 6 runs and over in that 4 or 5 over spell, which goes a lot to show about the standard he set for himself, and that Pakistan obviously at the receiving end in terms of Shaheen Afridi not up to that 100%.
Yeah, let's just carry on that conversation. It's funny though, Anil, because if he's still in the top 5 wicket takers of the tournament. At 18 wickets, an average of 26.72, economy of 6, and a strike rate of 27. I don't think it feels like Shaheen Afridi's been among the top 5 bowlers of the tournament, is it?
Yeah, that's because of what Urooj alluded to. His impact up front with the new ball hasn't been there for Pakistan, and that's meant a lot of pressure on the Pakistan bowlers. He's always been someone who picks wickets with the new ball, gets a couple of wickets, and then puts the pressure, and then the spinners come into play. Because of the lack of wicket-taking ability in the Pakistan setup, not just with Afridi, but the overall 3 fast bowlers up front, has meant that the spinners have been easy to play with, and that's been the challenge for Pakistan. If fast bowlers are struggling, then you would expect the spinners, especially in Indian conditions, to step up, but their spin ability has really been not there at all. I mean, the non-regular spinner has been their best spinner, Iftikhar.
Yeah.
So that's been the challenge for Pakistan. Afridi is a key player, and his pace also was draw. I mean, he didn't bowl at his quickest that we have seen him bowl. I don't know, maybe it could be a technical flaw, or perhaps just holding back. I'm not sure.
Let's go to the specialist in the subject. When you look at a bowler like him who is known to swing the ball and hasn't, and is supposed to bowl quick and hasn't, what does that tell you?
Sometimes you try too hard. You try too hard and you don't quite complete your action, and that just little 1% that you're off might not get wrist fully behind the ball, and if you're just slightly off it, then that can be a drop in pace. That can also be a little bit of a point where if you're not fully behind it from a wrist point of position, it'll not swing. We have seen him swing it. Pressure, I think the pressure of leading the attack. I think my observation of the Pakistan attack is you've never had a partnership. You talk about batting and partnerships, and Anil will talk about bowling and partnerships. If you've got a bowler at the other end who is keeping it tight, and then another one keeping it tight, another one that's there, you're building pressure, they've got wicket takers. It seems as though whenever Pakistan bowl, it was 8 and over at one end, 2 and over at the next, so 8 and over at one end, 2 and over at the end. So the pressure was always being alleviated. And I think with that, I think if you look at the teams of the tournament so far, you look at India and their spin options, you look at New Zealand and Santner, you look at Australia in Zampa, and you look at Maharaj bowling he's bowled Wiley for South Africa. They're in the semi-final because they've had a spinner that can rely on, and then the pace bowlers are attacking. If you've got Rauf, you've got Afridi and Mohammad Wasim bowling with any one of them spin bowlers I've just mentioned, who are effective at taking wickets and holding an end up. These are a lot more economical and a lot more effective when a wicket-taking point of view.
Yeah, it's very interesting that, because it's sometimes hard to look at the individual bowlers in isolation and their numbers. I mean, Shaheen still ends with respectable overall numbers. Haris Rauf certainly doesn't, and this is the star bowler of their shortest format?
Yeah, I mean, too many boundary balls. Yes, he has the pace, he has the skills. I mean, we saw that on display today, especially towards the back end, where he has the ability to bowl 150 and then drop the pace to 120 and then deceive the batters. But the consistency in the line and length, especially early on, hasn't been forthcoming with none of the Pakistan bowlers. And yeah, that's where I think he's dropped off. There was a lot of expectations, and once you start getting through with your batting against a Haris Rauf, he tries too hard and probably tries to bowl too quick, and that's sort of cost him the economy as well.
It's been two lengths as well for Haris Rauf. He's either been over pitching, bowling full, or too short, bowling short. He's not been that in between length. Where if he was consistent at that in between length, the full one and the short one then become a prize weapon for him. But when you go too full or you go too short, as a batter you can line him up, and the pace on the ball, he's an easy boundary option.
Yeah, I'm looking at him in the top 10 bowlers in this tournament. That is the most expensive any bowler's been. He still managed to get 16 wickets, Urooj. We saw those numbers there of him conceding as many runs as he has. I'm also reading some, let's just say, commentary online on Haris Rauf, where seems to be maybe he's just a T20 bowler, and we shouldn't expect him to be as good in one-day cricket. Could that possibly be what we see of Haris Rauf, just an impact in the shortest format?
I don't think so. I think he can definitely evolve and become better in this version of the game as well. Again, I think the discussion sums up Pakistan's bowling. They just haven't been consistent enough. So I don't think it's down to him doing not probably as much. I think Shaheen probably hasn't delivered the impact. Haris hasn't delivered the impact either. I think they just haven't been up to the mark in terms of their own ability. Yes, there's always talk around Haris Rauf obviously breaking the way he did through the Lahore player development program into the Melbourne Stars and then into the T20 version. The other one massive thing that the Pakistan bowlers struggle with when you come to white ball cricket and red ball cricket, or one-day cricket and red ball cricket, is the number of domestic games or first-class games that these bowlers have played is minimal. Haris Rauf probably hasn't played more than 10 first-class 4-day games at all. So that just sums up the white ball bowling. When you have to bowl 10 overs, you break it down to 2 or 3 spells. It's not the same way as 4 overs where the batters are coming to you. And then obviously pace and the slow deliveries, which he's very good at, and he showed again today. But I just feel Pakistan as an entire bowling unit just haven't been consistent enough to string up partnerships and apply enough pressure. So why that is, you're not quite sure, because leading into the Asia Cup, all the bowlers were bowling well. There was talks around, including myself, that this is probably one of the best fast bowling trio. Obviously, they were hit by Naseem Shah not being there. But in spite of all of that, Shaheen Afridi and Haris Rauf haven't been able to apply pressure or be that impact bowler, even if they do have the number of wickets that they do.
Yeah, it's funny that it looks like between Hassan Ali and Wasim Jr., Naseem Shah's replacements have actually been the better bowlers through the course of the tournament. But I guess your point is they need a good spinner to back them up. Pakistan's known to have good spinners by and large. Where's the next good spinner going to come from? Because it doesn't look like Shadab's going to get there anytime soon.
No, I mean the same problem.
He's on
again.
the bench.
Yeah.
He's on the bench. Yeah.
He's on out in the 15.
Carry on, Urooj.
Again, I mean, I might sound like a broken record, and you guys have heard this multiple times, that Pakistan doesn't have a quality frontline spinner in the past 4 or 5 years now. We did pick Abrar Ahmed, who obviously broke onto the scene against the England test setup. He's a finger spinner who bowls a lot in the white ball and the red ball in the first class system, and he's not in the 15. So you've picked the one who could be an impact player, who's a mystery spinner. None of the teams, I think, barring New Zealand and England, have played him. He's got a couple of deliveries up his sleeve. Difficult to pick because he's got a fast action, but he can't play. So even if Pakistan did have that spinner, they didn't go with it. So along with selection issues, planning for the 4-year cycle, because we all knew the World Cup was going to be in India, you knew you need a quality spinner. You took Osama with you for the past 1 year. He was mostly on the bench. So you didn't know whether he was worthy or fit enough in terms of his bowling for this World Cup. And you throw him into the deep end, obviously he doesn't come off. So I think Pakistan have problems that are not rocket science to identify and then work on.
Excellent. All right. Anything to add to that on the spin point?
Yeah, just to say that the selections around white ball cricket generally, especially in ODI format, in the last couple of years have moved from picking players from Test cricket who've been successful at the Test level coming into ODI to being successful in T20 and then picking them in an ODI. And when it comes to bowling, I mean, you can see like how Steve mentioned about successes of the 4 semi-finalists with their batting approach or the overall bowling, fast bowling approach and the spinners being there. If you look at those 4 teams, you have Test players playing in those teams. Your maximum number, or at least the larger percentage of your bowling attack are all Test bowlers. And India, all 5 of them, and the 6th one sitting on the bench are all high-class Test bowlers. So that's the I think that's the shift that you can see. And England, even England, struggled to a large extent with that middle 4th, 5th bowler having been a challenge to be able to adapt to a ODI.
Just one thing, the final and Shadab, there was a stat on the TV, 91% of his deliveries in this tournament wouldn't have hit the stumps. 91% from your spinner is not hitting the stumps. Zampa was 60%. I think that tells you a lot about how Pakistan spinners bowled, and what we talked about, the inconsistency is of the run getting from the opposition off the spinner.
Yeah, I think it's been discussed in many forms on a number of platforms. Of this World Cup has been more taking from the Test game and applying it rather than the last World Cup, which was extending the T20 game and playing that way, which we will have perhaps a more holistic discussion of in time to come. Let's move to England and let's just nitpick on what we can from that innings. I guess it's no surprise when Root gets runs or Bairstow gets a score, but I guess you just wanted everyone to have something off their back, something to remember this World Cup fondly with. Poor old Josh Buttler.
Yeah, poor old.
A run out to sum up perhaps how the England captain's tournament has been.
Yeah, to sum up, he was the stumps throwing down from sort of 40 yards from a bowler who has gone at 8 and over throughout the tournament. He's at the stumps, so that just tells you everything about Josh's tournament. So it's not one that he'll look back on fondly. The thing for me with Josh is he is the best that we've ever produced in white ball cricket. He has had a poor tournament. For me, he still should be captain moving forward. And I think the biggest stat from how poorly this team has performed, that was the first time Josh Buttler was in the crease with 10 overs to go in 9 matches. I think that tells you everything about where England were.
Yeah, I guess we also come back to a point Harmy makes of the origin of the problem is the confusion in selection, the absence of Roy, and a change of the type of tempo they get at the top of the order. And we go back to maybe going forward, put Josh Buttler up the order, what he does in T20 cricket.
Yes, I mean, if that's the template that you want to follow with having all-rounders till you're 10, people have the ability to bat, and then maybe that's the way forward, because I think, yes, certainly England went away from their original template of going hard in the 50 overs and then got stuck with changes in the playing 11 as well. Yes, you feel sorry for Josh Buttler, who's perhaps a fantastic player of white ball cricket, and for him to struggle throughout these 9 matches was not something that you expected. But once you have the top 3 flourish and bat till the 25th over, then you know that the rest of the batters can come in and do what they can, and that's something that England did only in the last couple of occasions, other than the first game, the second game against Bangladesh. And then in the last 2 matches. Otherwise, they've struggled throughout the tournament.
All right, let's just look ahead very quickly. Urooj, what are the expectations realistically from Pakistan looking at the surface? It is important they win, though. You want to end the tournament feeling like you just missed out on net run rate and not that you were well behind. In case you don't make this win, then Afghanistan finish above Pakistan.
Yeah, the entire discussion around failing out of because of net run rate only comes into play if Pakistan win this game. And so primarily those 2 points important. Now they're chasing 338 here to win on a pitch that might be a little bit tricky. Adil Rashid and Moeen Ali in that middle period will be slightly tricky. Adil Rashid has been phenomenal throughout the tournament. We've seen Babar and Rizwan, that pair that obviously bats majority, haven't been able to convert their 50s into those big hundreds to carry the team through. Babar in particular has struggled with spin off late. I think Fakhar Zaman make use of the hard new ball and the power play. And from what we heard, that there was plenty of dew yesterday as well when England practiced towards the back end. So that could be something that Pakistan can look at as well. But they will need a good launch pad. England had, 70 plus in their first end. It is not the style of cricket that Pakistan plays because they like to hold on to wickets, play the conventional 4 to 5 runs in over and take it deep. I think they'll have to forget that and do what Fakhar did in the last game. Let him loose and see what he can make of at his end. And then you've got Abdullah Shafiq, Babar, Rizwan, Saud Shakil, all to obviously carry through and string big partnerships. And then Iftikhar, Shadab, Salman, all very capable with the bat. So I think chase is definitely on here.
Game on? Chase on?
Yeah, game on. I'm just looking forward to it. I really am looking forward. Strap yourselves in. Fakhar Zaman's coming. And I hope, even from an English point of view, I hope he bats 15 overs at least. Because if he bats 15 overs, we are going to have one hell of a contest second innings.
I don't want to get into the... let me get a prediction first, then I'll come into the net run rate calculations. Not necessarily for qualification, that's out. But there's Champions Trophy positions still up for grabs here. Australia and Bangladesh have completed proceedings in Pune, where the Australians have won comfortably by 8 wickets in the 45th over. But that is still a net run rate that keeps Bangladesh, as things stand, above Sri Lanka. So I need to get all the numbers right. But give me a prediction over here. First up, Anil.
I think England should come through. It's not going to be easy though. Pakistan have a chance because they have certainly got these runs against Sri Lanka, although the attack is different.
Yeah.
And I'm sure England will try to win this game and then go back with these 2 points and the qualification into the Champions Trophy. So yes, plenty to play for, but Pakistan certainly have a chance. If Fakhar Zaman gets going in the power play, then it'll be a good show here.
Yeah, absolutely. As things stand, though, if you expect England to get the job done here and they still enjoy a healthier net run rate than Bangladesh, I don't know if a loss will put them down, but they've put themselves in a position where the net run rate shouldn't be damaged. And you expect the Netherlands, as good as they are and have been, that they won't have the in it in them to beat India, which means, as the table would stand now, Sri Lanka have missed out on the Champions Trophy, which is quite a significant development. Let me just get a quick comment on that.
Yeah, that's a massive blow for Sri Lankan cricket, for the way they've gone into the last sort of 2 years, Asia Trophy and then Asia Trophy again and the World Cup with younger players, moving some older players on and only bringing Angelo Matthews back as a last resort. That's a massive blow for Sri Lankan cricket. And now they're suspended. I would imagine Chris Silverwood would probably lose his job. Some dark times for Sri Lankan cricket and there's some rebuilding to be done.
Yeah, I mean, this would hurt. Team like Sri Lanka, proud team, next event also in Asia. All the issues are documented now and it's an ongoing story, Anil, of what's going on with the administration, which doesn't help. But one part of the story Sri Lanka will miss out. The other is Bangladesh at least have put in a good enough performance to make sure they don't get drubbed in what could have seen the table the other way around for those two teams.
Yes, it's a massive miss for Sri Lanka. I mean, they're really proud of their cricket and the nation is sort of backing the players, and that's one of the reasons for their success too. And to see Sri Lanka drop off like this, and even in this tournament, I mean, if you look at India, yes, of course, have been shoulders above the rest of the Asian countries.
Yeah.
The second best has been Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And Pakistan, then Bangladesh and Sri Lanka are sort of fighting for that last spot. So that's something that you didn't expect the Sri Lankan team of the past to be in a World Cup or in a world event or even in an Asia Cup, especially in subcontinental conditions.
Huge blow money-wise as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not being Champions Trophy 2025, I think financially that's a huge blow for Sri
This
Lanka.
would also hurt at the back, Urooj, over the Asia Cup, where you were with us, of course, and Sri Lanka were clearly better than the other teams, just fell second best to India. Now you've seen the effect of the Champions Trophy, which could see Afghanistan qualify, Bangladesh be there, and Sri Lanka is the only prominent Asian team missing out.
Yeah, massive blow, and I'm sure hugely disappointing to see such a proud nation who's done so well, and with a core group of youngsters. Let's not forget, prior to the Asia Cup, they came into the Asia Cup with main 3 bowlers missing, including Hasaranga, into the World Cup as well with that. But they still have some quality for them to sort of string 7 losses to be in a position where they are, and then obviously now being banned by the ICC, just gone from bad to worse, and they miss out. I mean, they've been the quality side over the years, and I thought they were rebuilding quite nicely, even in the Asia Cup, barring the final where they were bowled out for, I think, 50 or 55 against India. they put up a real good show. But I think throughout the World Cup, they've been patchy. Even the game against Pakistan, the one I can remember quite vividly, they got 344, but then allowed Pakistan to chase that quite comfortably in the end. So I think it's really unfortunate to see what's happening on a global scale and as a holistic to Sri Lanka, not just losing, but they're now also missing out on funding and being banned by the ICC.
All right. Well, that's a story that continues to develop, and you can download the mobile app for ESPN Cricket Info to stay updated on what's the very latest, as well as what's going on in both these games and how things could be affected for the points table. As it turns out, while we've had this conversation, it's been the worst possible start for Pakistan. Abdullah Shafiq, who was the star of that chase that Urooj Mumtaz brings out, he set it up against Sri Lanka with 100, has now ended his tournament with a duck, and he's not reviewed an LBW. So, Hami's feeling good about this win?
Yeah,
nice
feeling
win
good.
coming up.
Be nice if Pakistan man chips one up in the air, but I'd also, from a cricketing point of view, like to see him score a few runs because it will be eventful.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Stephen Harmison, Anil Kumble and Urooj Mumtaz. More from them as the day goes on in a busy Saturday in the Cricket World Cup. So join us later for Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket Info Matchday, powered by Qatar Airways.
Stunning looks, then swift,